how do I think of these? Listings, requirements maybe for a deacon. It says, likewise, deacons must be reverent, not double-tongued, not given too much wine. So I guess you can have a little wine, not too much. Not greedy for money, holding the mystery of the faith with a pure conscience. But let these also first be tested, so they can't be a rookie. Then let them serve as deacons, being found blameless. It says, likewise, their wives must be reverent, not slanderous, temperate, faithful in all things. Let deacons be the husbands of one wife, ruling their children and their own houses well. For those who have served well as deacons obtain for themselves a good standing and great boldness in the faith which is in Christ Jesus. These things I write to you, though I hope to come to you shortly. You know, the Lord gave me this, and I shared this with Michelle the other night. Anybody ever read the Word and then meditate? I'm talking about napping. I say that, and you know, I like to close my eyes and tell Michelle I'm meditating. When I'm really over, I'm napping. But this night here, it was late in the night, and I'd been going over this, and I just laid there and was asking the Lord about these qualifications. And now, whether this was the Lord speaking to me or it was just something that come in my mind, but you know, we get on this thing about a husband and one wife. And I've told you before, you know, any guy that'd have more than one wife's crazy. Right? One is plenty. And then we go into this thing, and you know, if you grew up in the church, you know, in the last 40 years, you go into this thing, well, that means a guy that's been divorced, guess what he can't be? Is that what it means? Now, I would say that if you had been married a bunch of times, it would disqualify you. But the reason why he brought this out is not about how many you're married to or who you've been married to or how many times you've been married. You can't have a womanizer as a deacon. That's what the Lord gave me the other night. Now, whether that's, I say it was the Lord. I felt like it was because it just opened up my mind. I was thinking, why? Okay, they put the widows and stuff in charge, or put Stephen in charge of the widows. So you have a guy that's just, maybe he's not been married all these times, but he's kind of marrying a lot of times. So that's like letting the fox in the hen house, right? Really? I'll tell you this. When I first started pastoring the church, I was green. I still am green in a lot of ways. A lot of things just go right over my head. And I'm thankful of that. I really am. Ignorance is bliss. It is. But a person in the ministry can get themselves in a tight situation even when they don't want to. A guy that has no idea about the wiles of a woman could get himself in trouble really quick. One time when I was a young pastor, still am a young pastor, but I was a younger pastor, and I had a girl call and said she felt like there was a demon in the house. I told Michelle, I said, I'm going to run down. Michelle was all right with it. It was somebody we knew real close. She's probably, 7, 8 years younger than me. But it was like 10:30 at night. So I was going to run to her house and pray, cast this demon out. Hey, I was young. Demon didn't want no part of me, right? So I'm driving down the road, and I'm looking there at Sand Ridge across the flats there, and I could see the kitchen light on at Mom and Dad's house. It's 10:30. And I was like, he don't go to bed. He's probably watching Johnny Carson or something. And so I don't even know Johnny was on at that time. But anyway, it sounded good, didn't it? But I called him. I had a cell phone. I called him on the phone and said, Pop, what are you doing? He said, I'm fixing to go to bed. And I said, well, I'm running to Richland. There's a girl down here that thinks she has a demon in the house. So I'm going to go down and pray for her and cast this demon out. He said, are you by yourself? And I said, I am. He said, who is this girl? I said, that's a young girl. Somebody you know. He said, come by here and get me. I said, you want to go with me? He said, yes. So I drive in and get him. He gets in the truck and he goes out and he says, hey, you don't need to be running some girl's house in the middle of the night like this. He said, I understand you have no intention. But it may look good, it may look bad on somebody that sees you getting out there or sees you coming out at midnight, getting back in your truck. It'll look bad. It's a black eye to the gospel. He said, you need to be really, really careful. See, I didn't know any better. So the Lord's telling you right here, hey, there are guys that know better and would take advantage in a situation like this. So the Lord says, hey, be careful of these guys. If there's somebody that's always after a skirt, guess what they don't need to be? They don't need to be the deacon. They don't need to be ministering for the gospel. That's what he was telling. Or that's what I feel like he was telling. We got to be careful. Thing is, that can happen in a girl situation or a guy situation. You can say, well, I didn't have any intention. I didn't know. The devil's a liar. He's a liar. And he'll spread lies and rumors on you. So you got to be really, really be careful. So where's this message going, Pastor? Folks, we need deacons and deaconess. I never thought I'd say that. We'll have women involved. Daggone it, I'm going to tell you something. I hate to admit it, but if the women weren't involved, we'd be in a rut. Gals around here have really picked up and took off. Really have. Have really, really grown in the Lord, and I appreciate it. But I share this with you because this isn't something that we enter into lightly. It's not. I think of that saying every time when we have a wedding, and I said, marriage is not meant to be entered into lightly or unadvisedly. That's something you better think about, right? Yes. I just did a wedding last week. That's why I was laughing at Tracy and Brandon. Yeah. We need to know what we're doing. But this commitment to God is the same thing. It would be something you look at and say, you know what? I feel like I may be called to be a deacon. Or a lady is called to be a deaconess. I really feel like I could be a leadership part in that. I could be part of the administration of the body. And I could go. I could go to see people when they're sick. I could go see people in nursing homes. I could go and I could make sure needs are met. It's an important part of the congregation. But the church today is a pastor-only church. It really is. The church across America today is a pastor-only, and we expect pastor to do all these things, but the Bible has clearly stated that there are a lot of different leadership and a lot of different lay people that have to take care of things. You have to ask yourself, hey, do I want it knocked out of the park? I want to come in and get a message that's just so in my face, that gives me so much strength, that gives me so much power that I'm going to tell you the devil can't even get a claw on me. Is that the kind of message you want? Yes. Yes. I hope yes. I hope it's yes. Y'all are sitting there like, I don't know if I want that or not. I'm telling you, a lot of congregations, you'd say, do you want a powerhouse message on a Sunday morning, something that gets right in your face, right in the pew with you, something that challenges you, something that strengthens you, something that sends you out, wound up like the Tasmanian devil? Do you want that kind of message? Or do you want a pastor that's at your beck and call all the time, that's just taking care of all your little needs? And you know what they choose? I know which one they'll choose. I'm not serving at that church. This isn't that church. This is not going to be that church. This is a congregation of firewalkers. This is a congregation of people that want more word. This is a congregation of people that want to be challenged. This is the congregation of people who want the truth. I hope you want the truth, because that's what you're going to get. The truth. Because the truth will set you free. We need to take care of these things. This is something that's been put on hold for a while. We switched our board to elders, and we don't have any deacons. Right now we don't have any deacons or deaconess. But it's time. I've been 8 months asking the Lord what's going on. And he told me if I get things in order, I see an expansion. He said, you want an explosion? Put it in order. What are you talking about? Biblical order. Is there any other order? Well, I tell you that last week about order. There's order and there's disorder. Well, guess what we're operating in? Just going to be honest. We're operating in disorder because the body's not in order. I want God to move. First of all, I want him to have his way. Anytime that we're in biblical order, he can work. And whenever we're in biblical disorder, guess whose hands are tied? Pray about it. Pray about it. We need to fulfill this order that God put forth. He had Stephen and the others do that. And Stephen didn't get to be a deacon long. He didn't get to be a deacon long. Man, it was shortly after that, he took the Word of God straight to their face. The leadership kind of arrested him. He got right in their face, told them about how they had done all the prophets through all the years, and he turned around and told them, said, and Jesus, Son of God, come in the flesh. And you guys didn't even recognize God. You guys are so blind, so stiff-necked, so hard-hearted that God was with you and you didn't even see it. And they were so mad, it said that they just lashed out and they grabbed him and they drug him out of the city, and guess what they done to him? They stoned him. But I love using him in funerals because this is the only time he says he looked up and saw Jesus standing. Jesus wasn't sitting. We can preach that sometimes. Jesus is sitting at the right hand of the Father because his work is over. What he done on the cross is done. It's truth. There's nothing more that can be added to that and shouldn't be anything taken away. The work of Christ is done. He done it. Now then, we just need to receive it and walk in it. So we say he's sitting down because his work done, but at this time, he stood up to welcome home this dear brother who loved him. Stephen was a good man. There are good men and women here that can do this. Now, I'll tell you this. If you're sitting there going, yeah, that's me, I can do it, you're in the wrong attitude already. But if you say, you know what, Lord, I feel like you may want me, and with your help, I can do it, he's talking to you. Yeah. Yeah. I used to tell him, Lord, you don't want me, I'll fail. And I have. I'll be the first to admit to you this morning, I fail. People say, you don't show it. Hey, I ain't got time to lay in that. Failure was yesterday. Right? Failure was yesterday. I may not get tomorrow, but I got today. So I'm going to walk in it today. And I'm going to try to do better. We just keep going forward. Let's serve one another. It's not just about serving our church, but even serving our community. Let's serve one another. Let's put the Bible in order. Let's see what happens. If God's order is happening right here, there's no way he can't move. Right? He can't lie. God can't lie. He wrote it. So if we do what he's told us to do, guess what he has to do? What he said he would do. Will he? Absolutely. I think of that song we sang where it says, how can I get that in my head? You're never going to let me down. We sang that this morning. You're never going to let me down. And the truth is, a lot of times Christians, we get it in our mind that he has let us down. But that's not true. God's never let anyone down. Have people let God down? Absolutely. Do we fail? Absolutely. But does God fail? Never. Never. He never fails. And the truth is, if we do what he's told us to do, he is bound. Not bound like he's going to do it in the future, but he's bound, tied to it, that he'll do what he said he would do. No getting out of it. He knows that. He's good with that. He's a good father. I promised my kids stuff. It's not that I didn't want it to do it. There's been things I've said, hey, we'll do that or we'll do this. Guess what? We just never did make it happen. Did I mean to do that? No. God never makes a promise that he doesn't keep. Never. Let's all stand this morning. Yeah.
There's no place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. No place I'd rather be. There's no place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. No place I'd rather be. There's no place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. No place I'd rather be. There's no place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of life. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty your word. For once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. Ooh, and as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch their breath, evolving in pursuit of what you said. If creation still obeys you, so will I. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. If the wind goes where you send it, so will I. If the rocks cry out in silence, so will I. If the sum of all our praises still falls shy, then we'll sing again 100 billion times. God of salvation, you chased down my heart through all of my failure and pride. On the hill you created, the light of the world, abandoned in darkness
Lisa comes with a prayer list. You know, I can speak on the heart of a minister. We want last week, every week. Truthfully. When the power of God shows up, the power of God gets on you, no matter how exhausted you become, you want that every week. And not every message is going to be like that. But the Spirit of God should have control on every message. I mean, really, truly. That's how it should be. Whether it be one of those radical, whether it is solid teaching, it should be the Spirit of God should move in those things. But we really have to be careful with all the other stuff that comes in. Really, truly. I would never want to put anything on you if you were going into battle for God. I would never want to do that. I never want to do that. And it should be our hearts, because this battle is real, and this battle is really, really serious. The greatest knowledge on the planet today is Jesus Christ and Him crucified. It's the truth. Of anything else that you could learn, that's the greatest knowledge on the planet. All right, Lisa.
If everyone will bow their heads, please. Dear God in heaven, in Jesus' name we pray. Lord, we love you, we praise you, thank you, we bless your holy name. We just want to lift up this prayer list to you, Lord. And I ask, Lord, if there is anyone here that does not know you, that they come to know you before it's too late. I ask, Lord, that for each and every family that's represented here, each and every person in every family that's represented, I ask, Lord, that you put a hedge of protection around each and every one of us, that Satan cannot penetrate. And Lord, I just ask that you lead, guide, and direct each and every one of us in the way that you would have us go, Lord. Lord, I want to lift up Laura Bailey, Mahela Bailey, Billy Wilkinson for healing, for Forrest Burton for healing, for a fresh anointing of the Holy Spirit for our church. May we speak boldly, cast out demons, heal the sick and the lame, and perform miracles. In Jesus' name. And Lord, I already know that you have performed so many miracles, and Lord, I know we come together as a church and we pray for things to happen. I've seen a miracle in my own family, and Lord, I know that it can happen. We just have to lift this stuff up to you. There are unspokens, and Lord, I'm going to lift up some names here, and Lord, I pray for these young men, for their salvation and for their deliverance, Lord. Lord, I pray for their deliverance from the addictions that they are under. I want to lift up Rodney. I want to lift up Matthew. I want to lift up Devin, and for Kenny. Lord, you know what's going on, and I lift them up to you. And Lord, you can overcome the power of addiction. I know that, and I just put this in your hands. I want to lift up Tom Gunter to you. I want to lift up Bobby and Randy. That's Bobby and Randy's dad. For Scott Dunsworth, for Ann and Carol, for Jeremiah and Mason, for protection, for Chris, for Amy, for continued healing, for Shannon, for continued healing, for Jared, Lord, that his eyes would be open and he would see, for Dinah Dunsworth, for David and Holly and their families, for Frankie, and for Steve and for their family. And Lord, I'm sure there are other needs that have not been put on this list, and I just lift those up to you as well. And Lord, we want to intervene and intercede on behalf of these people on this list. In Jesus' precious name I pray, amen.